What's up, guys? So I wanted to share some energetic practices that I'm doing that's working for me, with hopes that, somebody else can resonate with it or it helps them out. If you don't know who I am, I would consider myself like, I guess, a occult scientist and an inner alchemist. That's probably the best terminology I could use in lack of better words to describe what it is that I'm practicing. But I'm using a mix of um, dragon magic and plant technology. We'll just leave it at that, to test reality. I'm just testing to see, okay, what works, right? What can I carry over from my experiences into reality where I'm like, oh, this is a tangible result. When I first started this, I started with uh, my plant technology, but ceremonial magic, right? I'm no longer practicing ceremonial magic, but it brought me to a point where I didn't feel like I needed it anymore. So if you're in the realm of still trying to figure out what's real, how much power you actually have over reality, then I would say take a look at ceremonial magic. There's a book called The Golden Dawn. There's a lot of information in that book. I didn't use 99% of what was in that book. I just used a few simple rituals, and it got me to a point where I feel like I'm good, like I'm in control of what's going on around me. Now, the rituals I was doing were the Lesser Banishing Ritual, the Pentagram, and the Middle Pillar. So these are two basic ceremonial magic rituals. I've done a lot more complex rituals than that, but to be honest with you, those two rituals alone is enough to really transform a lot of stuff, both internally and externally. The goal with ceremonial magic, from my understanding, is to kind of just bring the things that you feel like are misaligned within yourself and reality. It is to bring them into alignment. Right now, there's the question of, are things actually out of alignment or not? That's up for debate, right? There are beliefs that things are out of alignment, and then there's people who believe there are things actually out of alignment that have to come into sync. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, how you view it. I just know I'm looking for results, and those things worked for me. Now, like I said, I'm not practicing ceremonial magic anymore. I'm practicing dragon magic. There is a book on dragon magic that I will put a link inside of the description, so that you guys can go check that out. I'll also put a link to the Golden Dawn book, so that you guys can check that out as well, in case you're interested. But like I said, you really don't need that book. There's only two rituals that, like, I would say, like, those two things alone was enough, right? Also look into Damon Eccles, right? He's very knowledgeable in ceremonial magic. With that said, some of the experiments I do involve doing ritualistic practices and then doing very high dose plant technology experiences. Some of the stuff that I've experienced is very inexplainable, right? Like, I'm at a point where I don't necessarily need to know exactly what's going on. I just know what's working, right? So there were things, ideas, beliefs that I felt like were keeping me in a box in terms of what I was capable of. And doing the practices that I'm doing has brought me to a point where I no longer feel like I'm anchored to those beliefs. There is some bleed over with doing what I'm doing. When I say that, I mean, like, sometimes people separate a experience like that with reality, saying like these are two separate things, but in my opinion, it's just showing you what's going on, right? It's going on anyway, and it's just kind of giving you a peek behind the curtain, right? The books work, and you can believe me or not, but they work. Both of them work. So I'm gonna put those in the description so you guys can check that out. Some of the things that I feel like I've accomplished for me personally is, like I said, changing those beliefs, right? Because you could look at the beliefs as a belief, or you could look at it as a block or misalignment, however you look at it, right? It sheds light on it, and then you can process it, right? These things are just being alchemized, right? Which is why I use the term like inner alchemy, where these are like energy complexes in your body that just need a shift, right? Where you start to understand, oh, I'm actually like not subject to this thing happening to me. I have control over it, right? It's a level of awareness that starts to come in, where you're like, oh, like this is real, you know what I mean? And what's funny about this is that before I did all of this, I did a manifestation technique. I think it was Neville Goddard technique, where I was just like, like I was aware of some things about like energy work and stuff like that, but I was just like, man, I really want to tap more into like my magical potential. And I wasn't asking for like cars and money and like material stuff. I was just like, I really want to tap into my abilities. And with the practices that I'm doing, I feel like I'm really tapping into that. There's stuff that I can do now energetically in terms of changing an outcome, manipulating reality, probability, and stuff like that, I was not, if I could do it before, I wasn't aware that I had this ability to do this, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'll talk more about this. I'll see what kind of feedback I get on this video. With that, for people who do watch me, I just want you to know that if you've commented on my video, liked, subbed, anything, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for, whoa, I don't know what just fell on me. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for the comments. I'm grateful for the likes. I don't have a chance to respond to everything just because of life and some of the stuff I got going on, but I just try to show up, in terms of the video. So I want you guys to know that if you have subscribed, if you have liked or anything, that I really appreciate it. I really, really do. And yeah, I hope that this was useful. Like I said, I'm gonna link those books, and we'll dive a bit deeper into this in a future video. I don't know if it will be the very next one, but I'm going to dive deeper with this in a future video. I'm getting some more stuff that I gotta say. Okay, so there's a guy named Darren LeBaron, right? He's a mushroom guy, psychedelic guy. I would urge you guys to look into him, because he says some really interesting stuff. And there was something he said years ago that I saw, right, where he said it, and I was just like, what does he mean by that, right? I wasn't at a point in my journey where I understood what he was talking about, but I had an experience recently that's making me really rethink and question what he said to a deeper level, and what his phrase, or his the thing that he said was, we are mushrooms having a human experience, right? Which sounds like bananas, but if you resonate with that statement at all and you want to know more information, check into him, Darren LeBaron, and check into Kalindi Iyi. Kalindi is a spiritual teacher, a martial artist, and somebody who was doing mushrooms at a level that I couldn't even imagine myself doing it at, maybe one day, right? I'm not promoting anybody to do what I'm doing. I'm just sharing my personal experiences. So look into that, and I will see you guys later.